Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. Total disbelief at Ford Field.
He may go all the way to the 20 down the right side, and it's Randall Cobb to the 5, to the end zone, to the touchdown. Oh my goodness.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Green and Golden Boys podcast, a Packers podcast for fans that want to see Lamar Jackson play but hope he's not 100%. With me as always is Charles. Charles, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Marcus?
It is going well. Really excited for this game for a couple of reasons. We mentioned it in the last episode. The Packers are number one in the NFC, and if they win this game, nothing else will change, and they'll remain the number one seed. But like I mentioned just a few seconds ago, I'm really excited to see Lamar Jackson play. I think he's going to play. He's got a sprained right ankle right now, which bodes well for the Packers. You never want to see stars hurt, but he's a dynamic playmaker, and I think a bad ankle is going to bring him down to a lower level. Again, never want to see a player hurt, but that gives the Packers the advantage on Sunday. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. And the question for you is, do you treat Lamar Jackson a certain way when he's 100%, right? I mean, he's a run threat, obviously. Do you treat him more like a pocket quarterback while you're scheming for this game with the assumption that he's going to be limited, or can you not take that risk?
I don't think you could take that risk. I think you need to approach it like he's 100%, and just try to contain him the best you can. But I mean, he, despite being a quarterback, he leads the Ravens in rushing yards this year, which is insane to think about. And I think he did maybe one or two more times in his career, but he's rushing almost 65 yards a game as a quarterback. He's got a great arm. He can make every throw on the field. He can be inconsistent, and we've seen him kind of sway a little bit these last 4 or 5 weeks. But he's still Lamar Jackson. He's still a guy you have to account for, and he's still dynamic even if he's hurt.
Well, and on that leading rushing stat, the other stat to bring up there, yes, he can make all the throws, but when it comes to touchdown passes, he's got one touchdown pass in every game this year, except for I think 3. So it is. I mean, the running part of his game is the big concern, right? If we can stick to our defensive style where we don't let up the big play, if we can keep these guys in front of us, even if he's healthy, 100%, I kind of like this matchup for us, especially since we kind of proved to ourselves that we can control some of these shifty quarterbacks. I mean, we played Mahomes when they were kind of coming out of a funk, but still we kept him, inside the pocket. Justin Fields last week, we kept him at bay twice, I should say, from a running perspective. So this team 10 weeks ago scared me, and I said, okay, that's going to be one of the tougher games all season. I think it's the hardest game of our schedule on paper still. But I think that speaks more to the other teams that we have to play the rest of the season more than the Ravens specifically. Yeah,
for sure. And it's going to be a test, but I like to your point, I like this matchup for us for a couple of reasons. We've got Aaron Rodgers, and we've got a passing offense that's really starting to come on. The Ravens have the second worst passing defense in the league. Their secondary is down 3 starters right now. Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, and then Deshaun Elliott, a safety. And again, like I said, they're ranked 31st against the pass, and I think that bodes really well. I think the problem for us is going to be game plan. They have a really stout run defense. They only allow less than 85 yards a game per opponent. I think we will need to get a ground game going just to kind of create any type of consistency and have them maybe bring an extra guy up in the box. So if we can get A.J. Dillon, 15 carries, Aaron Jones 10 carries, and at least have a serviceable run game, that's going to open up the passing game, for us. So again, their run defense is tough, but I think if we can establish some of that ground game early on, that's going to open everything up, and then we can kind of start to make those down the field throws.
Yeah, I think I think this might end up being a very A.J. Dillon game again, just like when Aaron Jones was out a couple weeks back, because Aaron Jones didn't practice due to an illness, not COVID, but an illness, and he didn't practice yesterday, Thursday. We're recording this when the practice injury report has not been released for Friday, but if we're down Aaron Jones, have you seen enough from A.J. Dillon to be the guy in the run game, especially against such a stout running defense like you mentioned?
I guess it depends on what you mean by the guy. I think Aaron Jones is still the guy for the Packers. I think A.J. Dillon is a really, really good number 2. But I think it's kind of one of those situationally, who's playing better, who's having a better day, feed whoever is getting more yardage. So I think like we saw against the Bears where A.J. Dillon had 15 carries in the ground, Aaron Jones only had 5. And a lot of that probably was more so because we were using A.J. Dillon on second and short or third down situations, because he can just kind of fall forward for a couple yards. But Aaron Jones is still the guy, and you got to get him incorporated no matter what that means. If he's
so.
Go ahead.
So that being said, if Aaron Jones is the guy and he's unable to play on Sunday, let's assume before you knew that fact, you had the Packers winning this game. Is that enough to change your prediction for this week if Jones isn't able to make it out?
No, I don't think so. Aaron Jones did miss 1 week due to his knee injury a couple weeks ago, and A.J. Dillon had a big game. I would think the same in this situation. I think he's good enough that if we can get him 15 or 20 carries and Aaron Jones is out, that we're still in a pretty good position. And again, we have the option to use guys, in kind of those. We saw it with Alan Lazard and MVS and St. Brown, who I think is hurt. But if we want to do some of those, jet sweep or motion type plays in the backfield, we'll be able to have those as well.
Yep. I don't think we gave A.J. Dillon enough credit when we did our review episode against the Bears. I mean, he is the perfect number 2 guy right now, to your point. When he's kind of taking limited snaps in that first half, and he's done it not just against the Bears, but several games this year, where it's late in the third, we're up by a score and a half, 2 scores, and we just need those long, sustained drives, and we know we need those first downs. I mean, A.J. Dillon was a freaking wrecking ball last week, and when he's kind of rested, in that first half, and then we just pound the ball with him late in the third, early in the fourth, it's just so fun to watch him carry, defender over, after defender for 3 or 4 extra yards every time.
Yeah, for sure, and I think we're gonna love seeing that getting into colder weather and when the snow starts to fall for sure. Let's talk a little bit about concerns. Do you have any concerns in this matchup, either with the Packers or with the Ravens?
Honestly, my biggest concern is a very elementary one, right? It's the last time we're going on the road to an AFC team, a team that we don't know very well, and anything can happen, in games that you don't know the opponent very well. This is the first time, if Lamar Jackson plays, that he's going to be playing against Aaron Rodgers. So I think that's a huge concern, just from like a who are they situation. On paper we should win. We should take care of these guys, like you said. Their secondary isn't necessarily their strong point. It's more of their run defense. And we got the guy. You said early on in this episode, we have Aaron Rodgers. End podcast there, right? I mean, it's up to us to kind of continue this momentum that we started in the third quarter last week and just kind of run this through, like I said, probably our toughest matchup here for the rest of the year. How about you?
There are a couple things. So we talked we talked about how atrocious our special teams was last week. So I guess one thing that concerns me a little bit is Devin Duvernay. He averages about 25 yards per kickoff. So if he's averaging that against, let's assume, not the worst special teams team in the league,
oh God,
what can he do against this Packers kickoff unit? So that's got me a little concerned. I think that is probably the biggest thing, is just how can our special teams respond. Other than that, again, kind of the the normal stuff. Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's probably not going to be rushing as much as he normally would. But they have two solid backs in Davante Freeman and Tavius Murray, who've combined for, I think 9 or 10 touchdowns this season so far. So just, I think, making sure we can stop the run and then kind of force Lamar Jackson to spread the ball around a little bit. Hopefully force him into a couple mistakes. There are a couple of things. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and it's interesting to see. Again, let's assume Lamar's playing because they're in a must-win situation right now. In their division and in the AFC as well. So I'm expecting their best. This has been a team that's been really weird, right? They gave up a heartbreaker to the Steelers, and they couldn't rebound from a kind of an injured Baker Mayfield last week against the Browns. And what I've seen from afar, again, we don't see Baltimore very often, is they look dominant in some games, and then they look like they're just going to roll over and let you do whatever, other games. So I guess that's my other concern is who are we playing against? Are we playing against the team that everyone thought could win the AFC, or are we playing against a team that might not make the playoffs at this point this year?
Yeah, I mean, you play who's in front of you on your schedule. This is a team that can be pretty good on the offensive side of the ball. So I think you approach it like that. You assume that they're going to come at you with their best. You assume Lamar Jackson's going to be playing and relatively healthy. But I think that you still need to attack him. You still need to force this team into third down situations, third and long situations. They're like only 35% converting on third down. They're -9 on the turnovers, so you got to force them into some mistakes, and that kind of again comes down to getting after Lamar Jackson, and you got to try to stop the run. I mean, they're third in the NFL in rushing. Again, a lot of that has to do with Lamar Jackson, but they have those two guys that can feed when they need to. So those are kind of my keys to success in this game from a defensive perspective. What do you think? Defensively, what do we have to do to win this game?
Defensively, we need to do what we've done the last couple of weeks and give our offense a couple short fields and get a couple turnovers. I would not be surprised if it's Rasul Douglas with another interception, or at this point, Preston Smith with another strip sack. Both those guys have had a couple of those in as many games. And I think that's it, right? Forcing these guys into making mistakes because, again, we are the on paper, the better team, and if they're the ones making those turnover mistakes and we're not the ones doing that, then this game, for lack of a better word, is a cinch. Because if you give Aaron Rodgers a couple short fields, good luck.
Yeah, for sure. Offensively, what do you think? What do we need to do to win this game?
Offensively, I'm just looking at our injury report again, and I'm seeing our guy, David Bakhtiari, as limited both Wednesday and Thursday. I saw an article earlier this week saying LaFleur was surprised that David Bakhtiari was there. Now, does that mean he's going to be playing this week? Have you seen anything saying he's officially out? I haven't. I don't think this is the key to victory, but I think it would be a very big help to get the left side of that offensive line firmed up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way he plays. I mean, he just started practicing for the first time this week. I can't imagine they're going to put him in for any snaps. I just don't think they're gonna.
Come on.
I mean, I would love to see it, but I don't. Is he ready? He just started practicing. I can't imagine that he's going to be ready to go. But hey, would love to see him. This offensive line, down 4 starters has still been solid. At the least. So, if we can, if we don't want to risk Bakhtiari furthering that injury, then let's keep him out until he has to come back.
I guess the question is on this topic is how badly do you think? And I think the answer is they take one game at a time and they're smart with their players. That's the answer. But I'm going to ask the question anyway. Like, how badly are they aiming for that number 1 seed? Right? Because, I mean, obviously we want that, but if they're trying to be strategic about it, again, I bring up the fact that this is, on paper, our hardest game, right? So all hands on deck could be one way to look at it.